Alright, so I'm going to go through 5 different pairs, 1 minute each, just draw up some levels and see how we go from there. So I'll start with the Euro USD. So we're coming obviously just in a bit of a sort of downward channel along here. It does seem like it's sort of balancing out a little bit more. We could sort of see it coming down with a bit of a channel if it does break this sort of somewhat sort of early rising support here. So we just bang a little sort of support across this line here. I think if the buyers fail to sort of hold this sort of horizontal, fail to hold this sort of slightly still descending support level, I think that that'll sort of give us a push back down to the bottom side over here, where we've got 107 and 50 and change. Alternatively, if we go to the top side, we've got some resistance opening up just through here in we go resistance through there at 109. If we can get back above that, it'll take us outside the channel. It'll also take us up until looking into 109.83. Next we'll move on to USDCAD. So we can see sort of got a little bit of support just sort of coming in just around this 103.42 area here. Let's cross to support. It's obviously still sort of holding a little bit of the sort of upward trend here, so it goes in line with the USD sort of strength across the board with it all. Oil has been ultimately pretty weak in that, so you know you're not really sort of seeing a great deal of CAD strength across the board. If we do sort of break below that horizontal, it'll take us outside that channel. We can then sort of look down for 103.34. Alternatively, if we're looking for the top side, we've got a little bit of a sort of short-term sort of resistance that we're coming up along here. This is only a small level, but yeah, it's certainly there for the buyers to be sort of sitting at. So if we just make this one a resistance here, up above that, but then we're sort of looking for probably a major breakout continuation of this channel. This would be pushing us up above towards the top side of the channel here. As I said, you could probably look left over here and sort of find some resistance coming in line with 103.60. Somewhat of like this pattern across here. Moving on, we've got USDJPY against the yen. Yen ultimately the most weak sort of pair going around town. We've obviously sort of built ourselves a little bit of a topside range along here. If we do happen to sort of see anything of a breakthrough to the top side, we can sort of look left and we can sort of find some nice little levels along here where we've sort of seen some selling and that and exchanges with buyers previously. It does look like it's getting a little bit toppy on the top side here. It's building up itself a little bit of a head and shoulders, if you can see this sort of going along here. So if we make this one here quickly just a support zone, bang. We did have a little drop down here before, and that's obviously been brought up quite quickly in that. If we do see a little bit of a head and shoulders play out here, we have shoulder, head, second shoulder, so it's a little bit messed up over there. Measure move for this takes us back down pretty much where our lows almost sort of came out before, but I think this could very much sort of turn into a little bit of a reversal area for this if we do see a close down underneath this 147.63 area. Ultimately, it is still moving in this sort of upward channel though, so you'd have to sort of be contending with some sort of rising supports, and as we can see, we've been matching these things up here, and that's pretty much bounced on cue with it all. If it does take out this wick, that'll be confirmation. We'll be coming down to the bottom side. You'll probably be looking around 104.49, call it 105 just for the round number, and then you've got some pretty nice sort of little ledge levels moving all the way back down towards 140. New Zealand JPY. We are sort of seeing this starting to push down now. It did try to rally up a little bit earlier in that, but obviously that got smacked on the nose, sort of continuing to a little bit of this more sort of short-term downside look along here. We have sort of supports quite strong coming in around this sort of 89 level. I imagine it's probably going to take a little bit to sort of get down under there, but certainly if you can get down under, we've got a couple of little exchange zones, not so much sort of like proper support areas, but just where we could see it was sort of a little bit of a small support along here before we sort of moving down to these bottom sides here. If you want to look for the top side moves, this is obviously an area that you need to get through, this 90.30. So if we make this one a resistance, beautiful, and then sort of coming up at the top side, we can see there's a couple of little ledges, but you know, ultimately sort of 90 looks to be a little bit of the cap. In terms of where it's going, it's very sort of choppy in that. We can sort of see that obviously ultimately it is sort of moving up on this top side here. And just like we saw with the USD JPY, it really seems to have sort of held this little bounce area along through here. And finally, we've got euro against the Aussie dollar. So we are seeing a little bit of a sort of push-up recovery sort of coming through here, but ultimately we do have a large sort of downward channel, which was respected sort of previously last week. So came in pretty much right on par and sort of sold down. So ultimately, you want to be holding this sort of short-term sort of rising support if you are looking for longs on the euro against the Aussie, but it does tend to run in line with the sort of US dollar and the Aussie dollar running as well.